So glad you're there, everybody. It's the Brian Kilmeade Show on Christmas Eve, where we know weather's going to be a challenge. I already saw during Fox and Friends how many delays there's been, how many people have to wonder, for example, even in California where weather's not usually an issue, it's raining so much in San Diego and in the Palisades area. People are worried about it. Kennedy is here, has a house out there.
I got an evacuation order.
Right? Well, you really paid attention. You went 3,000 miles.
That's right.
Right. I mean, that's you really evacuated.
I would love to go back to my house, but insurance won't clean it. So the government is not forcing insurance companies to do anything. So they're just screwing everyone over. So I would love to be home right now. Can't go there. It's
and you have private insurance.
Yeah, I did until they dropped me.
Right. After the
the wildfire.
So you have a house that's intact, but it's got dangerous chemicals.
Yeah, exactly.
And you did not want lead.
No. And then now the insurance company is trying to say, well, the lead was there before. It's like, oh, interestingly, no one got sick and tested positive for lead poisoning like they do now. But thanks.
Who's your insurance adjuster? Christy Whitman?
No, it's Geico.
Oh, okay.
The Geico after this is so disappointed.
I'm saying this maybe a little out of order, but Nate Foy's coming up later. I'm not saying I'm looking forward to him more than you. You're not going to take that personally.
Obviously, you are man crush.
Well...
Sorry I didn't sing at the Christmas party, Brian.
Right. By the way, did you see him sing?
No, I was busy getting engaged.
Oh, that's right. On Christmas Eve. Excuse me, on our Christmas party.
Yeah.
Were you at the party engaged?
No, I was at the party. And my beloved fiance was like, come have dinner. And I was like, okay, cool. I've seen the party.
You mean after the party?
The party was still going.
Oh.
Yeah. I made my rounds. I high-fived. There's no gluten-free food.
So I'm just trying to get into your mindset for a second, okay? Yeah. So you're having a good time.
Great time.
You brought him.
No. You kidding? It was not a +1 situation.
Good, because I thought I was the only one not allowed to bring anybody.
No.
So it was a trap, that question. So you leave. So he texts you and he says,
come have dinner.
And you're like, did you say, so this is weird?
No. He was like, I was like, well, maybe I should just go home. He's like, no, come have dinner. I was like, okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're having dinner and you're thinking to yourself, okay, just another day at McDonald's. No big deal.
Yeah.
Right? So it's your spot. Is that correct?
We did not. It was not McDonald's.
All right.
It was actually a Christmas banquet that was.
Oh.
It was very luxurious. So that alone, I was like, I'm so glad I'm here right now because I'm starving because there was nothing I could eat at the party.
Right.
This is amazing.
So you're sitting there and you're eating.
I'm gorging myself on seafood.
So you're sloppy.
Yeah, just covered in gristle.
And potato salad?
Yeah, exactly, yep.
So, and then?
And then he was like, we were in the Uber home. He's like, let's stop and look at this beautiful.
So you had dinner, nothing happened?
No.
Okay.
And then he's like, let's go look at this beautiful Christmas tree. And so we went to one of the gorgeous hotels in New York. New York City is magical during Christmas.
Can you tell me what hotel?
Yeah, it was a Lottie Palace. Oh. And so the tree there is beautiful. St. Patrick's is in the background. There's Christmas music playing. There's no one in the courtyard.
It's called Lottie Palace?
Yeah. It used to be the Helmsley Palace.
Oh.
Yeah.
I haven't been there. Okay, so.
Very beautiful.
You walk in there, still you suspect nothing.
Nothing. And he's like, isn't this a perfect night? And I was like, it really is. This is absolutely beautiful. And it was one of those moments where my heart knew to be still for a second and really just take everything in. And I'm listening to the music and looking at the tree and marveling at St. Patrick's in the background. And then he pulled out a ring and said words, which I couldn't hear because I was squealing because I wasn't expecting it. And I was like, is this real? Is this moment real? Is this really happening? Don't wake me up if this is a dream, please.
And
he said, no, it's real.
Wow. And you said?
I said, I said, hails to the yes. Absolutely right.
All right. And then you made out?
Yeah, just rolled around on the wet concrete. Like,
Well, it's a great moment. You're
lovesick dogs.
Are you going to remember it or is it already your blurry memory?
No, I'll remember it forever. Oh. And it was great because there was no pretense. It was just a really beautiful, sweet moment that happened so organically. There was nothing planned. There was no band. There was no photographer in the bushes. It was just us, and it was amazing.
Can I just say this? There is a little bit of planning. I mean, he picked the spot.
He did.
He picked the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't say nothing planned.
No, yes, but in terms of how people oftentimes create a moment with external factors in order to post it.
Oh, that doesn't seem like, although I've not really gotten to know him or met him, it doesn't seem like the posting type.
No.
Right.
Which is one of the things I love about him.
Right. That he's not into social media.
Yeah.
Right. And you, for example, you do live on social media.
I don't live on social
But you
media
like
like some
social
people. I engage in social media, but I'm not, there are people who post like 10 times a day,
Right.
like you.
Right. That's true.
I watched your video.
Which
I
one?
was up like in the middle of the night, couldn't get back to sleep, and I watched a video of you, and you were like, it's 5:51. And I'm in the elevator, and I don't know if I'm going to make it. And I followed you the whole way into makeup. It was like a 5-minute video.
And how'd it go?
It was hysterical.
Right? Yes. So do you say to yourself, what's happened in my life that I'm watching Brian walk to work?
No, I said to myself, it's definitely a conscious choice to not document every single thing I do on social media.
So, by the way, the low tech, no pre-production seems to be what people want.
Yeah.
I'm just realizing that.
Yes, people want a glimpse into your life.
Right.
And it's like I put my dog in an Oasis bucket hat the other day. I was like, I might post that.
Yeah, my dogs have been abused with social media. Yeah. That's all I got because I have a very reluctant family. And they have no interest.
That's really funny.
Yeah, they don't even want to be in the backdrop. They're afraid.
I heard they're so embarrassed that they changed their last name to Hannity.
That's true. All right, could you put that in your new Daily Mail article? Yeah. Right, Brian Kilmeade is embarrassed, or his family's embarrassed by him. Yeah. Right.
I'm Dawn Hannity. Nice to meet you.
Well, I'm pretty sure Ainsley would take offense at that.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about their relationship now?
I think so.
Yeah, I think she wouldn't.
I mean, you spend more time with Ainsley than I do.
Right, actually,
by a factor of like 15,000. But
my problem is I'm thinking and talking about myself almost all the time. So I'm not really focused on other people. Right? I think that's what makes me a great radio host. Like I don't care about other issues that don't affect me.
Thank God it's called the Brian Kilmeade Show.
Right. It used to be
Kilmeade and Friends.
And then that
Drop that.
Drop that.
Bad habit.
In a second. Like on your podcast, you don't really you go where the wind blows you.
With you, we were talking about that yesterday because not everyone can just roll with the tangential punches like you can.
Oh, really?
So it's like when you come on my podcast, it's like there is no agenda. And like our conversations take so many turns, which to me is hysterical because you react to everything. Not everyone can do that.
Really?
A lot of people, if you just start throwing stuff at them, they pause and don't say anything, which turns out is horrible for a podcast.
Yeah, if you ever do that, also a radio show. Yeah. The long pauses, like when people think, it panics their control room. You've noticed that.
Yeah.
So tell me about your live shows. You're going to do a lot of live shows this year, right?
Yes.
So tell me about where they're going to be. What will we see?
So I'm going to do Red Rock in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Not the one in Colorado. The one in Las Vegas. It's like 265 capacity. It's not big. I've got 2 shows. It's either May 8th or 9th. That's going to be super fun. I've got 2 shows in Norfolk, Nebraska on April 10th.
We have 2 stations in Nebraska.
Oh, cool.
So that's great.
Awesome.
Omaha, as well as, what's the other station we have? Oh, Lincoln.
Nice.
So that's good. So now you know, go get tickets to Kennedy.
Yep.
And where else are you going to be?
In Klamath Falls, Oregon in October, and Reno, Nevada also in October. So that's going to be like a full weekend.
So I'm going to be your pre-show, May 30th. It's really pre-show.
Yeah.
So I noticed that everyone's like, Reno is a great market for you. Reno is a great market. I go, great. So we posted it on, so I have 2 shows. One February 14th in Fort Myers. Should go over 1,000 tickets soon.
Amazing.
But it's 1,700. So I don't know, like I've been venues really big. So Reno, they go, Brian, you're going to love Reno. So I post it, and I haven't checked today, but we sold, let me see, 1 ticket. So not only did I only sell 1 ticket, but someone's going alone. So either that or it didn't register well.
So that's either great news for you because someone really wants to be your friend, or they're really, really mad at you.
At least I know that person wants to be there.
Yeah.
To the point, or everyone in their life said, you can go, I'm not going.
Are you selling action figures yet?
No, but I did have, there was a Founding Fathers bobblehead series that was mailed to me. And I thought it was interesting, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Sell it. Sign it and sell it.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right. So that's as close to an action figure.
Nice.
But to me, a real action figure solves crimes.
Yeah.
And until my action
And you've got
figure
like
can-
weapons and bendable arms. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's really good for kids when you have the bendable arms and when they start to fray. So you get this piece of metal wire that sticks out. It's not dangerous at all for 3 or 4 year olds.
I know, but I was reading something recently about Gen Xers and how dangerous our childhood really was.
Yeah.
You know, it's like even the impromptu slip and slides would throw you into pricker bushes. Like best case scenario.
The best case, yeah.
I remember running by myself in circles when I was 4 because you had to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
And I slipped and fell because there were a bunch of nails on the...
You tripped on a nail.
Yeah, and it went into my knee.
Yeah.
And I remember going inside and screaming to my mom. And she was like, what were you doing? And I said, running with my friends. They were imaginary friends, but, you know, kept me in shape.
Right. It's like my audience in Reno.
And a rusty nail because my dad just left a box of open nails on the sidewalk in front of our house.
So why would he do that? Just to make it more dangerous for children?
Probably, yeah, exactly.
So it's interesting. By the way, sticker bushes. I had them all over my house. My whole front of my house was those sticker bushes. And it was dangerous. It was dangerous
What were
during
they
the fall.
for? Yes.
Right. Can we, who are we trying to keep out?
We had a rope swing.
Wild boar?
The rope swing didn't go over water.
Right.
It went over pricker bushes.
Yes. Do we just stop that? Because now it doesn't seem like they're anywhere.
No, they would call child services on you if you did that now.
Right.
Like there would be a government intervention. Whereas before, like I broke my ankle and my dad was like, walk it off. I think it's fine. Just a sprain.
But Dad, I can't walk.
Yeah, I can't walk.
That's the
Every
whole
time I
issue.
walk, it makes a crunching sound. He's like, it's okay.
By the way, the helmets that they wore in the NFL are now the type of helmets we wear on a bicycle. I mean, if you go to the Hall of Fame and they like look at Johnny Unitas' helmet, it's made of paper mache.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they're like, I wouldn't have given up my leather helmet. Yeah. So like back then, they weren't trying to even protect football players.
No.
Let alone us.
No.
So I'm like, the shot of the guy and the kid in the big wheel going over a ramp without a helmet on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. So, I mean, now they go, why aren't you wearing a helmet riding a bike? I'm like, why should I start wearing a helmet now?
Yeah.
I'm like, I've survived so long. Maybe I'll get too reckless with a helmet.
Yes. I've had so many concussions and like this, it's the first time this has occurred to me. Like my parents were really irresponsible.
Right.
Like maybe they were trying to harm me.
It could be. I mean, this is one thing that
I probably should have had a helmet in my just walking around life, like not even on a bike.
Right. I know that Eli, I think Peyton Manning, they had this promo up. I guess Archie, the dad,
yes,
taped everything and they put together this great documentary. But he said the dad would never put the camera down and he just watch as Peyton and Cooper would beat the hell out of each other and then throw little Eli to the ground.
Oh.
And then now they look back and they go, Dad, put the camera down.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, but back then it was like, keep fighting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was a pretty tough quarterback in his own right.
Right.
And he had 3 boys. Got to get that energy out somehow.
But I don't think you can compare raising children to a football game. For example, the guys on the other team aren't in your family. You didn't give birth to them. Mm-hmm. They're just trying to tackle you because you have the ball.
Yeah.
Like when you play a key role in having a kid, like let's say 50% of it. Mm-hmm. Outside the birth, it's pretty much 50-50. I think you should take a more active role in protecting them.
I know, but maybe he thought these guys have to fend for themselves at some point. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to wrap them in bubble wrap and hope they don't hit any pointy edges. I'm going to push them into the pointy edges.
But look how they turned out. Cooper ends up having a son who might be the best college football quarterback.
You really think he's that good?
I think he's going to be. And then you have Peyton, who went into the Hall of Fame, if you consider that successful.
Couple
and
Super Bowls.
Two, yeah.
Yeah.
If you count
Eli,
both.
couple Super Bowls.
If you count both.
Yeah.
And then Eli, borderline Hall of Famer. So I don't look at these parents as any great parents. I mean, that's okay, right?
Kat Timpf has a very funny word, a term rather, for moms who produce outstanding athletic children like that.
And what'd she say?
The first word is power, that the mom has a power, and the second word also starts with a P that I can't repeat on the radio. But she says that Donna Kelsey has a power P. And you could argue that Peyton and Eli's, well, and Cooper also, that their mom has a power P.
Got it. I think I know exactly what goes on. That's an interesting expression.
So that's Kat's term. It's very funny.
But what's the set? Like, where can you use it?
I think
it's just with friends you can use that term? Like, do you use that on stage?
Yes.
Oh.
I've told Kat she should use that on stage because it's a very funny story.
Right. Great.
Like, she's like, say what you will about how annoying Travis Kelce is. Donna Kelce.
Right.
Something really powerful going on there.
By the way, you find him annoying, Travis?
Yes.
Why?
Fame whore, meathead,
Okay, I have a different take.
I think he's a phenomenal tight end.
Right.
He's a Hall of Famer.
But
I know too much about him, and he dresses like a rich slob.
My take, I judge you about how you act when things are going bad. This year is terrible. Just refusing to talk to the press, storming out, yelling at his quarterback, screaming at his coach in the Super Bowl. Those are the things that bother me.
I agree with all of that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Kenny, I enjoyed our time together.
Brian, this has been the highlight of my day.
Right. So
now
far.
I'm going to go beyond outnumbered.
Right. But this is the first thing you've done, in fairness to me.
Right. I haven't been up as long as you have.
That's true. Congratulations.
Thank you
It's
so much.
going to be a special year. Back in a moment. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Brian Kilmeade Show, moving through on a Christmas Eve. If you're waiting to go shopping, today would be the day. I don't think you should wait anymore. I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but if you are looking for last-minute gifts, this is called The Last Minute. Special thanks to Kennedy for coming by. With me in studio, if you're smart enough to watch the stream, and I hope you are, Nate Foy, one of Fox's true rising stars, Fox News correspondent, but you also see him anchoring now Fox and Friends First. And Nate, great to see you.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
I want to get the story that you were just doing on CBS. I do want to dive into right away. But first, tell everybody how you got here. Tell everyone how you got to Fox.
So I always wanted to be a broadcaster, but initially it was sports broadcasting, similar to yourself. Started doing that in market 206. At the time, there were 211 markets, so it was the fifth smallest registered market in the entire country. St. Joseph, Missouri.
Okay.
Went there for a year, got a job in Fort Myers, Florida.
So the sports was going great. For you to do that, put together a tape, and get a job the next year shows you're doing well. Right?
It was going well. I loved doing it. Honestly, the reason why I switched was I was kind of looking at the sports media landscape, and when I was growing up, it was a lot of highlight-driven shows, and then the model kind of changed, and it was a lot of beautiful women surrounded by former, professional athletes, and I was like, there's less jobs available. So then I switched to news and found a love for news in the process, made that transition in Fort Myers, Florida, did some local news reporting and anchoring there.
Did you hire as a sports guy?
Was I initially? Yes.
Okay.
So there it was a duopoly. It was ABC and NBC. For ABC, when I first got there, I was the sports guy, and then they moved me to NBC, and I was the news guy. Initially in like a hybrid role, and then I got promoted pretty quickly to news anchoring and did that for 4 or 5 years, and then somehow convinced the people here to give me a job.
So before we do that, what sports were you covering in Fort Myers?
Everything. So
high school, college?
Bunch of high school, football, basketball, volleyball, everything. Right.
Because isn't high school football in Florida like Friday Night Lights in Texas?
It's very different. So I grew up in Massachusetts. It's very different speed. The people there, like every single team has a couple kids that play major Division I sports. And for me, there was like one kid every 10 years in my town that would get a full scholarship. Yeah. I was Central Mass, Westboro, Massachusetts. Right. We only had a handful of really good athletes, but every single team had kids going to Clemson, Pitt. There's a couple guys in the NFL now. It was pretty cool covering that.
Right, in a place where you sold out 3,000 people, 5,000.
What
on the weekends?
Watching
the football?
I'd say honestly the fans weren't that great.
Okay.
It was,
that's different
from
parents. Texas.
Yeah, very different from Texas in that way, for sure.
So you started doing news. You loved it more, or you just thought that was a better path?
Well, initially, I just thought it was a better path. And then I actually found that I loved it more. And one of the reasons why, maybe you experienced this as a sports broadcaster yourself, I was doing all these, like I said, local high school games. And in the process, I was missing, say, a Boston Celtics game or a New England Patriots game. I was like, I'm missing the sports I actually care about to cover the sports that I don't necessarily care about quite as much. So I felt like I was losing my hobby a little bit. And then I made the transition to news, and I feel like it kind of forced me to grow up a little bit and understand how the world works. It's also less driven by cliches. You ask a coach that you get the same answer over and over again. It's just different players, different coaches, but it's the same storyline.
There's no Senator Kennedy.
There's no Senator Kennedy. Yeah. I mean, you do have some characters in whatever you're covering, but I just learned so much more covering news. And I feel like I kind of got my hobby back in the process.
So 4 years of Fort Myers, you sent your tape in, or your agent sent your tape in, and they loved you?
Well,
They gave you a shot.
I got the luckiest story that any guy has ever had. So a friend of mine from college, his dad owns a restaurant. You actually may know Lee Lipton. He owns Benny's on the Beach in Fox and Friends has done shows from Benny's on the Beach in Lake Worth, Florida. So I'm friends with his son Dylan. And Dylan had just sent Lee my tape without me asking or knowing. And then Shari Berg went into his restaurant, and he knew who she was, and he just went right up to her, and he was like, "Hey, check out my son's friend. He's a local newscaster in Fort Myers." She was like, "Oh, he's actually pretty good. Like, let me talk to him." So that's how I got my foot in the door here. Yeah.
How did they know? Like, Shari Berg is a huge executive here. Great story. But how would he recognized her?
I'm not sure if he recognized her or maybe had a relationship with her beforehand. He's tight with a few people here. Or if he was just kind of making the rounds. How's your breakfast? How's everything going? Where did you come from? What do you do? I'm not exactly sure how that went.
So Shari looked at it, liked it, and next thing you know?
So next thing I know, I had an interview with Fox Weather. And then during the interview with Fox Weather, I thought I ruined the entire thing because at the very end, they asked if I had a question. And I told them, hey, listen, if you make an offer for me, I will obsess over weather for the next however long the contract is. But I'd be lying if I told you that my goal is anything other than eventually being a Fox News anchor. So what's the culture like within the company to switch departments if I prove myself at Fox Weather?
Yeah.
And the guy who was running the interview, he was like, why would we offer you if you're already looking at the door? And
he said that?
Yeah. So it kind of ended awkwardly, and I could not sleep that entire night. I thought that I ruined my shot. And then the next day, one of the executives here reached out over email and said, hey, we have a different role in mind for you. She was listening to that email on Zoom, but didn't speak at all. So I didn't even realize that she was there. And then she reached out and she was like, we're going to start you over on the interview process on the news side. And then 7 or 8 interviews later, I got the job.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. But it shows you. I mean, there's no format. So many people say, how do you get into it? There's just there's no organized way to do it.
Yeah.
Like JP Morgan, I'm going to intern, and then I'm going to go to JP Morgan. I'm going to work my way up the ladder.
Yeah.
It's much different in our business, don't you think?
I do. And I think for me, it was an example of communicating what you want. And, I wanted to do that up front. And then once I'm in the door, I kind of shut my mouth and just work hard. And I've already, let them know what I want out of it. And then kind of just trust them to do their thing, and then just try to develop myself and get as many experiences as I can.
And so far, great. And then you were anchoring the other day, right, on Fox and Friends?
So I just anchored for my first time Fox and Friends first on December 8th. I'm anchoring tomorrow between 9 a.m. and noon.
All right.
And then Friday, 9 to 11.
Wait, so 9 to noon, you're on for 3 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because it must be a weekend format then. Because 9 to 11 is Hammer and Dana usually.
So, yeah, tomorrow will be Fox News Live, which is the weekend format. And then Friday will be America's Newsroom.
Oh, that's awesome. So you must be pumped up for that.
I'm really excited. Yeah, it's a dream come true.
So, Nate, let's talk about what you were working at a couple of days ago. And because I'm pretty amazed by this. So Barry Weiss takes over CBS. She's not a conservative. She's kind of in the middle. If you listen to what she's doing now in the Free Press, listen to her podcast. Takes over CBS. I know it's going to be pushback, but from the institutionalists, more traditionalists, the Scott Pelley's of the world, and these reporters, they don't seem happy that she's there. They don't seem happy in the morning show that she's there. And then in 60 Minutes sees this story about Seacott Prison, that it's going to say that the Trump administration is sending illegal immigrants to Seacott Prison and that they're going through horrible abuse and horrible treatment. She looks at this story and says, it's not ready to go.
Yeah.
You got to get the administration to weigh in on this. It's got to be balanced. And she also added, you're not moving the story forward. You did this story already. What's new about it?
Yeah.
And what was the ramifications of that?
Well, I think something that's been lost in this is that she is planning on airing the story. People are saying that she's going to just kill the story and that she's a puppet for the Trump administration, which is not true. She said right off the bat, this story is going to air. It's just going to need a little bit more work before it does. And, Sharon Alfonsi, the reporter who put the thing together, her position is that she already reached out to the administration. She was a little vague in her wording of whether or not it was sort of like an email, hey, what's your comment, or if it was actually an opportunity to get on the record on camera and give their perspective of the story. But as I'm sure you know, the version that was suppressed for the time being actually aired in Canada, so you could kind of watch the bootleg version of it.
Yeah.
And it's from most reports one-sided, and you know, there a lot of people would say should be the Trump administration's perspective, because otherwise it's kind of a hit
or
piece.
Whatever that is, right?
Yeah, and from the Trump administration's perspective, they're probably thinking, so it's a hit piece, and then at the very end you'll say, you know, here's what the Trump administration said, which isn't very effective, and you know, it still is a hit piece. So, yeah, that's essentially what happened, and it will be interesting to see, you know, how the Trump administration cooperates now. And if a voice from the Trump administration, possibly Stephen Miller, is included in this newest version.
So I was talking to some of the administration, and they didn't get reached out till later. And they also thought to themselves, include the angel moms, people that have lost their lives to illegal alien immigrants in this country. And they didn't want to. And Barry Weiss says, no, I want you, this is the new wrinkle, is like, no, I want you to include the angel moms in this. So why wouldn't you want it balanced out? They are reluctant. Put it this way, Nate, you and I are from the same mindset, I think. You have a news director. You go out and say, this is what I think, and they say, well, I think you're wrong. They ultimately make the decision. So imagine the news director is also the owner, like he runs the place.
Yeah.
So they put a person in charge, and they tell you what to do. You might be convinced, like a coach might be convinced that the GM is wrong, but in the end, the GM hired you, you got to answer the question. So to me, either you quit or shut your mouth and do it.
Totally.
Or you go to bat behind closed doors. You don't go to another news outlet or post something against your company. I don't know where that mindset comes from.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine doing that. I can imagine being upset privately, to your point, but making it public is something that I can't even relate to at all. But this happens all the time in newsrooms where stories are deemed not ready for air. And then, you know, to your point, there should be an effort to tell all sides of the story. And what, you know, as a journalist, we're always calibrating our own biases. And, you know, you really want to make sure that doesn't come through in the piece. So even if you feel a certain way, I think anybody would agree, no matter how you feel about the topic of immigration, that it's a complex issue. And if you're against, you know, the CCOT prison and the treatment of the people there, then sure, you can make that point in your story, but you also need to make the point of why it was necessary in the first place and the crisis that led to it.
So the other thing is, it reminds me of Ronna McDaniel got hired at NBC, and Chuck Todd and everybody else, I can't believe you hired her because she lied about the 2020 election in their view. So she was the former RNC chair. She just left her job. She'd be great to have that perspective. Well, there was such an uproar, they decided they're not going to have her on anymore.
Yeah.
And they gave her such a hard time in her first interview. And now she's suing because you just fired her and stopped her from doing other things. And now she's stopped from doing other things because she's in the middle of a lawsuit and she has to prove that it's harmed her career. And then you have other examples of people not happy with their company, like Joy Reid got fired by MSNBC. And you have these other hosts ripping MSNBC's management. Do you know anybody else? Or I'm going to go destroy my vice president publicly? I mean, we get fired if we did that in a bar, overheard in a bar.
Yeah,
and we should. I don't understand the mindset.
It's just not knowing your place, right? I mean, you know, our job is to execute the news in an ethical way and an accurate way. Our job is not to comment on the leadership of the network broadly. And the fact that these people are doing that is crazy. And the fact that they're not willing to let the best idea win is even crazier, that they don't actually want to engage in some of these debates, regardless of somebody's history on a particular topic. If somebody has, you know, the experience to have a valuable perspective, bring them in. And if you dislike their perspective so much, then win in the argument.
Yeah. I'm stunned by what's going on. But how do you think this whole thing plays out? I mean, Scott Pelley publicly said that Barry Weiss was wrong not to watch this ahead of time and wait until the last minute, and she should take her job more seriously. So I'm not saying you're going to call for everything, but in your projection, how do you think this plays out? I don't know how the parties coexist. If the anchors are telling the president of news how unhappy they are with that person. I have a prediction. I have a prediction that a lot of these guys are going to leave, and they think that the ratings are going to go with them. I don't think they will.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd say I have no idea what's going to happen, but I don't think that there's going to be like a major shuffle in the next couple weeks or anything like that. But I think that, over time in the medium-term future, you could see a lot of these people sort of phase out, get a new crop of correspondents in. You already see Weiss is hiring some new talent. Sort of, remaking the news department to try to engender a bit more trust from the viewers.
Just balance it. Don't be a conservative network. Don't be a liberal network. That's what I think she's saying. That's what I'm trying to do. So I'd be stunned if that's going to be allowed to continue.
And the piece is going to air. So when it comes out, we'll all watch it. I would wager that it's not going to be propaganda for the Trump administration. It's going to be, why are you sending these innocent illegal immigrants to a terrible prison in El Salvador? But they believe the whole entire percentage is illegal immigrant criminals who they have trouble legally sending back to their country. They won't be taken. So El Salvador says, for the right price, we'll take them and we'll put them in prison. Yeah.
So that's an issue. So I guess we're going to see what's going to happen with that situation. But I also am very curious to see if things are going to change wholeheartedly. If you look at the Washington Post editorial section, it used to be Mark Thiessen and everybody hates Trump. Now you look at it, and I have to look twice. 3 or 4 columnists are conservative columnists who have a perspective. Not every conservative columnist, maybe 50-50, like Trump. It's okay. But at least you give them a shot. So I think you can read the editorial section of the Washington Post and see a balance. Yeah. I think that's a good sign.
Oh, it's a great sign. I mean, I can tell you that, from a guy who graduated college, 11 years ago, I felt like for a lot of my young adult life, you really had to seek out a conservative perspective. If you didn't, you just never got it.
Never got it. Yeah.
So I think that it's helpful that, in these sort of mainstream publications, that if you're a new news consumer, and, the Washington Post, obviously everyone's heard of. So it's like, let me check out their editorial section. The fact that you can easily find these conservative perspectives, whether or not you agree with them, is healthy for our country.
All right, we're going to see you all weekend, the rest of the week, right?
Yes.
So we're going to watch from 9 to 3 tomorrow, and then Friday is?
Friday, 9 to 11.
9 to 11. Nate Foy, Fox News national correspondent. Great job, Nate.
Thank you.
Before we leave, can we play a little of Nate singing us out for the Christmas party?
Goes to everybody at Fox News, but especially Kate and Nate.
So let's get to the big 3 first.
Number 3.
If we do the quick math, $9 billion in fraud divided by 5.79 million Minnesotans comes out to roughly be $1,500 a person that each Minnesotan, each hardworking Minnesotan, has had stolen from them from the Walz administration.
That is mayor, one of the 100 mayors in Minneapolis who are outraged because Governor Walz was looking the other way as Minneapolis was literally robbed of their social spending, especially Medicaid spending, by many in the Somali community. In fact, most that were indicted from Somalia. Why did they let this happen? We'll discuss it.
Number 2.
Maduro's been in power for 12 years. You've got to give Trump time here. If we allow this to take a little time, ultimately, I think the goal here is to win the war, the regime change, without firing a shot. And Trump is beautifully playing this right now.
That's Mike Sorelli, retired Navy SEAL, talking about what's happening in Venezuela. Maduro, in my view, start packing. Indications are Trump's ready to rid Venezuela of their illegitimate dictator. I'll tell you how he's raising the stakes.
Number 1.
This is the golden age coming. 4.3% this quarter means Americans on average are making more money in their pocketbooks. That makes for a great Christmas.
The economy showing signs of soaring as we close out 2025. We go over the stunning numbers and we see when the rise of consumer confidence will go along with it. And Karl Rove joins us now. Karl, welcome back.
Thank you, my friend. Merry Christmas.
Back at you. Before we go, the numbers that the president goes to celebrate with are really one to celebrate. You look at the GDP growing at 4.3%. They picked up from 3.8% the previous quarter, easily built the forecast of 3.2%. And then you have corporate earnings that are extremely high and other indications that the economy is doing quite well. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. Really good numbers. They were really good numbers for two reasons. One is spending by the upper 10 to 20% of the population, and then some decisions that had been made with regard to international trade. To make this sustainable, we got to broaden this prosperity, and that means that as the effects of we can't depend on the top 10 and 20% continuing to power the economy at this rate. But the broad-based tax cuts that were in the big, beautiful bill, in essence, the renewal of the 2017 tax cuts, are going to help people as we go into the new year. And while we can't sustain through 4.5% GDP growth, we can have it in the 3% range, and that's very strong and very good. And it's going to be possible because the broader impact of the tax cuts.
So I want you to hear Howard Lutnick yesterday. He says, compare this to the rest of the world. Cut 6.
The whole world out there in the third quarter, the United Kingdom grew 0.1, the European Union grew 0.4, and Japan fell 0.6%. Fell 0.6%. Donald Trump's economy grew. The United States of America, the biggest economy in the world, 4.3%. What that means is that Americans overall, all of us, are going to earn 4.3% more money.
So, I mean, he's a cheerleader. I got it, and there's nothing wrong with that as Commerce Secretary. Right. But I think the best thing to do now, USMCA. Go recut the deal. We had to study the last one. NAFTA got updated, so now that evaporated. So if you want to give these business more predictability, go redo that deal, right?
Well, or just affirm it. We actually have a pretty good deal in place, and just lock it in. It's really important for us to have stability in our trading partners, our relationship with our big trading partners. And look, put it in context. We produce 25% of the world's economy. Of all the economy in the world, 25% is here. We're 5% of the world's population. We hold half of the world's wealth. Now, having said that, let's not do the mistake that Joe Biden made. Remember when Joe Biden kept going around saying Bidenomics is working and people didn't feel it? We've got to temper the administration's rhetoric. It's got to be we have a big hole to dig our way out of, left to us by the previous administration. We have a lot of work to do. Things are starting to get better, but the best is yet to come if we stick at what we're doing, which is controlling the spending, cutting the taxes in a pro-growth way, encouraging the growth of our economy, particularly when it comes to trade, and under promise and over deliver. That ought to be the. We can't win this debate today. We can't say, "Oh, everything's great," and don't you feel it? Because that's not where people are. But if it keeps going in this direction, they're going to feel increasingly positive about the economy. So have confidence. We have 11 months before the midterms. Under promise and over deliver.
So the one thing I heard that Senator Kennedy keeps saying is that there you should do another reconciliation bill focused on housing. He said, get it together. He goes, you'll get enough momentum behind it. Is that something you would back?
Look, you do reconciliation when you have something that you know that everybody agrees on, so you can pass it with 51 bills and it fits within the reconciliation rules. We aren't there yet. Please describe to me what it is in the reconciliation bill that's going to solve our housing problem. I mean, look, we couldn't even pass a permitting bill that in essence removes unnecessary government rules and regulation and constraint upon big manufacturing and energy development and minerals development projects. We couldn't get that passed. So I hear Senator Kennedy. I understand where he's coming from. But please, what is it that the federal government can do to help encourage housing? For example, I'll give you two examples, one good and one bad. The bad one is we have a tariff on Canadian lumber. Now, softwood lumber, which is used in American home construction, and we did it on the basis of national security concerns. Now, how that fits, I don't know. Last time we built a warship out of wood was like in the 1860s. So if we took that tariff off, it would reduce the cost of lumber that would go into housing, thereby reducing housing and making it more accessible. The good thing is a lot of communities are starting to look at their rules and regulations regarding development and saying, why are we making it more difficult for people to build housing and more expensive for them to build housing? And we, even sort of liberal enclaves here. I live in Austin, Texas. You talk about it's Moscow on the Little Colorado River. But even here in a liberal town, they're thinking, why do we have all these rules and regulations and these delays in allowing people to build housing that local residents can afford? And I think that's a healthy movement, and it's happening all across the country.
So to your point, consumer confidence actually went down this month. So it was at 91%, it went down to 89.2%. It doesn't help when 60 of 61 economists at Bloomberg predict that the economy is going to suffer in 2025, and they were wrong. It doesn't help when Goldman Sachs twice said that we're heading towards a recession. That doesn't help, does it?
No, it doesn't. It does not. And look, we got to place this in perspective. Yes, these were great numbers, and yes, those economists were wrong. I mean, economists are sort of like lawyers. On the one hand, this, and on the other hand, that. But we have the makings of a strong economy. We just need to stay at it. We had some unusual circumstances that made the 4.5 or 4.3% better than expected and strong. Let's not kid ourselves that we're not going to be able to necessarily repeat that again, but we can have above-trend growth if we stay focused on pro-growth policies. The administration, for example, is doing a terrific job behind the scenes of getting rid of the regulatory burden imposed upon us by the Biden administration. Think about this. The Biden administration, and I'm going to be off on the number, it may be like $1.8 trillion in additional burden on the economy in 4 years. That is twice as much as was done by Obama in 8 years. And this administration, which in its first, President Trump in his first term undid a lot of the unnecessary red tape and regulatory, excesses. His people are quietly going about that work again, and that's going to help next year.
Understood. I want to go over to Venezuela and what our objective is. We have now put, they say, a CV-22 Osprey tilt rotor aircraft, which are used by Special Operation Forces, have flown into the region from Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico. I was talking to the special operator already. He says, no, there's special ops that are now on these ships ready to go. Here's what Marco Rubio said yesterday, cut 15.
The current status quo with the Venezuelan regime is intolerable for the United States. The status quo, that they operate and cooperate with terrorist organizations against the national interest of the United States. Not just cooperate, but partner with and participate in activities that threaten the national interest of the United States. So yes, our goal is to change that dynamic.
So it's intolerable, the status quo. So you've seen these standoffs before. You're also not naive to the downside should something happen. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the administration is pushing this policy appropriately. I think Secretary Rubio is exactly right. This is a threat to the United States security interests. We have a regime that openly participates with our enemies, and not only that, but is illegitimate. When the international community, almost to every nation, says the last several elections have been illegitimate, something's wrong with the people who are in power there. And it is in our national interest to have this vital part of our hemisphere to be governed by a government that is democratic and legitimate, representative of its people, and a friend and ally of the United States. They have the largest reserves of oil in the world. Why would we not want that to be in the hands of friends of the United States rather than adversaries of the United States? And I think the administration is playing this well. I bet you that that in the coming year, Maduro is out of power and democracy and freedom returns to Venezuela. And when it does, Donald Trump and Marco Rubio are going to have been the architects of it.
No question. But people get worried about Libya. They see the regime change. It's still chaotic there. They worry about some other situations. Mike Pompeo, I asked him, what is our responsibility? He's a former Secretary of State CIA guy. What is our responsibility should Maduro go? Cut 25.
it'll be the Venezuelan people's responsibility, but there's many things we can do to support them. Most importantly, we can help rebuild what's been a disastrous set of policies about their economy that's destroyed their capacity to thrive, which is their oil sector. So American companies can come in and sell their products. Schlumberger, Halliburton, Chevron, all our big energy companies can go down to Venezuela, build out an economic capitalist model, which will restore Venezuela to what it was. Brian, you and I remember, it was a great economy for so long, and this knucklehead has destroyed it.
So, and the thing is, I guess he feels as though if he lasts this long, I think something's got to let him know that you could either go to Belarus, Turkey, Moscow, or you could end up in jail the rest of your life. Somehow that's got to be given him. He's got to be given that choice.
Yeah. Well, first of all, three things. Venezuela was once the democratic and prosperous example of what the Western Hemisphere could be, of what South America could be. And they were once prosperous. They were the most prosperous nation in South America. And what happened was along came two despots, Maduro and his predecessor, Hugo Chavez, and they ruined the economy, destroyed the freedoms, and centralized the authority in the government. The third thing is remember how he stays in power. He ships cheap oil to Cuba, and in return, the Cuban the intelligence services provide him the bodyguards and security apparatus to keep him in power, and the military guidance to keep his military under his thumb, and again, to keep him in power. So by breaking the flow of cheap oil from Venezuela to Cuba, we're pressuring not only the Cubans, but we're also pressuring the Venezuelans because they can no longer afford to pay the Cubans. So again, it's going to take time to roll out. There are going to be lots of opportunities to go sideways, and I think Secretary Pompeo is absolutely right. It's going to take American involvement in to help them through that difficult period. But the Venezuelans turned out in the last several elections and overwhelmingly voted to throw Maduro out of power, and he had to dummy up the election returns in order to claim that he could stay in power. So gross that even the international community rejected his claim to power.
No question. Lastly, J.D. Vance got the endorsement of Turning Point USA's Erica Kirk, and probably that whole, all the people that attended, 30,000 plus, and maybe people watching around the country. Is it his nomination to lose?
Well, look, it was a great get for him, particularly since the Turning Point announced that it was going to organize all 99 counties in Iowa for him. But J.D. Vance is smart enough to know there are several geological ages that are going to come and go before the 2028 contest frames up. The Mesozoic, the Paleozoic, the Jurassic, and he's smart enough to know, don't take it for granted. Yes, vice presidents of sitting presidents tend to have, if they want the nomination, they get it. It was 1960. Richard Nixon wanted the Republican nomination. He got it. 1968, Hubert Humphrey wanted the Democratic nomination. LBJ was leaving office. He got it. 1988, George H.W. Bush wanted Ronald Reagan's slot, and he got the Republican nomination. 2000, Al Gore. You see a pattern developing here? Having said that, only twice in American history has the sitting vice president succeeded the president in whose administration he served. Martin Van Buren in 1836 and George H.W. Bush in 1988. And Vance is smart enough to know that there's a lot between now and 2028 that could make that nomination both his or not his, and worth having or not having.
Yeah,
and he's focused on trying to make it worth having.
And how Trump finishes could really help J.D. Vance if he finishes strong, right? And he is a player in the administration. Karl Rove, always great, insightful. We love having you on. Thanks so much, Karl. Have a great Christmas.
You too, buddy. Merry Christmas to you and yours.